Final round. Final round.
Final round.
Final round.
Final round.
Final round.
Final round.
Alright boys and girls, I hope you're having a lovely day, okay? Today boys, we're going to be talking about Tekken, okay? And we're not just talking about like 1 or 2 Tekken games, I'm going to be talking about a lot of Tekken games. I think I've actually maybe got every single Tekken game ever. And as you can imagine lads, it's a lot of games, alright? That's all of them right there, I'm pretty sure, unless I've like not done my research properly and I've missed a few. That there is a possibility of that. But as far as I can tell lads, I have played every single Tekken game, okay? Over the last like few months or so, I've just been playing through all of these Tekken games and I've been having a blast, by the way. I've been enjoying it so much. The reason I wanted to do a video on this today lads is obviously that Tekken 8 is going to be coming out very soon, okay? I'm very excited for Tekken 8. I've got a really good gut feeling it's going to be an absolutely banger Tekken. So I just figured, you know what, why not just do a video talking about all the Tekken games before Tekken 8, you know? I just figured that would be a good time. So before we get into that lads, I do want to like highlight just a couple of things, okay? I mean, first of all, I just want to highlight that I am not very good at Tekken games, okay? My opinions on all of these games might be invalid to some of you guys because I'm not a good fighting game player. On most of these games, I can't string combos together to save my life, okay? I'm not a complete button masher, but at the same time, I'm definitely not good at these games. So if you disagree with me on some of my thoughts on some of these Tekken games, then you might be more right than I am, okay? Because again, I'm a bit of a novice when it comes to fighting games. A lot of how I feel about some of these different Tekken games comes down to like the atmosphere, the vibes, the characters, the story, you know, not so much the fighting game mechanics of it. And lastly, lads, I do want to just quickly highlight that I'm not going to be going into like crazy detail when it comes to some of these games, you know, because obviously this video will be like 3 hours long, okay? So I'm going to try and keep it as brief as possible, you know, I'm not going to be going into it in full depth. So yeah, I think that's about everything, lads, I wanted to address before we jump into it, okay? So yeah, let's kick things off then, boys, with Tekken 1. So this is where it all began, lads, okay? Tekken 1. I don't know when this game released, but I'll just pop it up here, like when this game came out, because I'm actually not too sure. I know it's obviously old as hell.
I mean, I'm not that old.
You are getting kind of old, dude.
What?
And how do I feel about this game in 2024? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, lads, it's not amazing, okay? This game has not aged as gracefully as, let's say, Tekken 3, for example. The way this one plays is incredibly rigid and slow. There's not a lot of, like, combos you can do with this one. Also, there's no sidestepping in Tekken 1, so, yeah, it's not even really a 3D fighting game. It's more or less a 2D fighting game, but with 3D animations. And speaking of some of those 3D animations, lads, this game has aged terribly when it comes to visuals, okay? This game, I'm not even gonna like milk it, like it looks fucking awful. Some of the character models in this game have not aged well, okay, but I mean it's understandable again because this game was like one of the very first 3D fighting games, okay, so it's not terribly like, you know, you can kind of understand why this game doesn't look the best by 2024 standards. It's also worth mentioning with Tekken 1, lads, it's very bare bones, okay? When you go back and play some of these older Tekken games, there's a lot of different modes you can do. There's a lot of like spin-off modes and cool mini games and things. With Tekken 1, there's not really any of that, okay? You've got arcade mode. You don't even have practice mode in this game. Like, literally, it's pretty much arcade mode and that's it. In terms of the things I actually do like about Tekken 1, lads, I think the soundtrack is still pretty good. It's definitely not up there as one of the best soundtracks, but it's still an okay soundtrack. You know, there's a couple of decent bops in there. I also really enjoyed unlocking Heihachi in this game, lads. In order to unlock Heihachi, you basically have to beat the game in, like, a really quick amount of time. And if I remember correctly as well, you're not actually allowed to lose any of the fights, okay? You have to win every single fight, like, quickly. So, yeah, that was a pretty fun challenge, and I enjoyed getting Heihachi. And obviously, the end stage with Heihachi as well is actually a really good stage. So yeah, all in all, lads, Tekken 1, it's a good starting spot, but obviously this series got a lot better from Tekken 1, okay? A lot of this game is not aged the best, but still, I still enjoyed the parts of it. Okay then, lads, next up we have got the sequel, okay, Tekken 2. Yeah, Tekken 2, lads, is a massive step up from Tekken 1, okay? This game improves on so many things from Tekken 1. Like, there's a great deal of things they did improve on here. Visually, this is a big step up from Tekken 1, okay? The graphics in this game are, like, massively improved. Obviously, you know, they still don't look amazingly good, but, you know, because it is an old game, but it's just a big leap from Tekken 1. I will say, though, some of the cutscenes still look really weird in this game, a lot like Tekken 1. Like, some of the cutscenes look fucking awful.
I am hideous?
You are horrifying to look at, yes.
There's a lot more playable characters in Tekken 2 than there is Tekken 1, okay? There's a massive leap in the roster, like, you've got a lot more characters to choose here. Gameplay is also vastly improved, okay? There's a lot more combos you can do this time around. You still, unfortunately, cannot sidestep, so it is, again, technically really a 2D fighting game with 3D visuals. But again, the gameplay is definitely a lot better this time around, okay? It's just a lot more smoother to play. The soundtrack here, lads, is really good, okay? This has got a really good soundtrack. The one that I love the most in this game is, of course, that intro song. That's probably one of the best Tekken songs ever. I also absolutely adore the final stage from Tekken 2. It's kind of like this mirror world. It's like super trippy, but it's just fucking awesome when you're fighting Devil Kazuya. It's definitely one of my favorite final stages from like the Tekken games. It's just like really memorable and cool, and it's just got like a real, I don't know, like a real dark atmosphere that I enjoy. In terms of the things I don't love about Tekken 2, it's still not the best Tekken game, you know, it's a lot better than Tekken 1, but it's, you know, compared to like some of the later games, it's definitely not as good. Just the gameplay gets a lot smoother as we go on in the Tekken series. Also, it takes an absolute age to get up off the ground for some reason. I'll be doing that button mashing thing when you're on the ground, you know, because you want to get up quickly, even though it like doesn't help at all. But yeah, it just takes like fucking 5 seconds to get up, and it's like, it's kind of annoying, okay, you know, coming back to it. But yeah, overall, boys and girls, I think Tekken 2 is a massive improvement over Tekken 1. It's still a really decent game, okay? It's, again, not as good as some of the later games, but it's a big improvement. I do enjoy Tekken 2 quite a lot. Okay then, boys, next up, we are going to talk about a big one, okay? We're going to be talking about Tekken 3. So Tekken 3 was where this series began for a lot of people, okay? This was where the, like, Tekken series really started to become popular, you know? Tekken 1 was fairly niche, actually, you know? Back in the day, I remember Virtua Fighter was actually a lot bigger than Tekken when Tekken 1 came out. Tekken 2, though, was pretty popular, though, when it came out, you know? But it was definitely not as big as Tekken 3. Tekken 3 was huge when it came out. Everybody had Tekken 3. But funnily enough, lads, I actually didn't own Tekken 3 back in the day, okay? I was probably one of the only people that had a PS1 and didn't have Tekken 3. However, I do remember my uncle having this game, okay? I remember him playing this game a lot back in the day. But yeah, Tekken 3, boys, is an absolute revelation, okay? I mean, Tekken 2 improved a lot of things from Tekken 1, but Tekken 3 also improves a lot of things from Tekken 3. It really refined the series, okay, and made it what it is today. You can go back to Tekken 3, and aside from the visuals, this game doesn't feel like it's aged at all. Like, it still plays so well. The first thing that Tekken 3 does really well is they introduce sidestepping, so obviously that's a big integral part of the Tekken series today. It's now genuinely a 3D fighting game, like, not just visually, but it actually plays like a 3D game. Visually, this game looks incredible, okay? Some of the different stages look so good, okay? The character models don't look really weird anymore like they do in Tekken 1 and 2. This game also introduces a couple of absolutely massive characters in the series, okay? Eddie Gordo was in this game for the first time, Jin is in this game for the first time, and obviously Jin is like one of the biggest Tekken characters, like he's pretty much the main character now. And his soundtrack here absolutely slaps, okay? There's some absolute bangers in here that just get you hyped to that fight. I really love the intro song in this game, okay? It's just like, that intro song gets you properly hyped. I also felt like the character endings in Tekken 3 were like massively improved, okay? In Tekken 1 and 2, I can take them or leave them, you know? Some of the character endings are just kind of, I mean, they don't look great for one, and they're kind of just meh, but in Tekken 3, they're like really good. Like the Xiao Yu ending, for example, which is like a full-blown anime, which is like beyond cool, and there's just some really good endings here. And also, who can forget Tekken Volleyball, you know? Probably one of the best mini-games in a Tekken game ever. I absolutely adore Tekken Volleyball.
That's it! This is the best game ever!
So yeah, all in all, lads, Tekken 3 is an absolute home run, okay? It pretty much has everything that you come to expect now in a Tekken game. It's aged super well, it plays super smooth, the gameplay's great. It's just everything about this game is fucking fantastic, okay? Definitely the best Tekken so far that we've talked about. Okay, lads, next up we have got Tekken Tag Tournament. So yeah, Tekken Tag Tournament, lads, is the first Tekken game that was obviously different to, like, just your traditional 3D fighting game. Obviously, it's a tag fighting game, so it plays very differently to, like, you know, your traditional Tekken game. Well, with that said, though, it does actually play pretty similar to Tekken 3. It's pretty much Tekken 3, but with the tag element. Not that that's a bad thing by any means, lads, okay, because obviously Tekken 3 absolutely slaps, so the gameplay here is great. It plays smoothly, it's really fun, it's great in terms of gameplay. Visually, this game is an absolute marvel by today's standards, okay? This is an actual PS2 launch title, okay? So this is one of the very first PS2 games we ever got, and this game is aged incredibly, okay? Some of the character models in this game look fantastic, okay? Better than they've ever looked. Some of the different stages as well look amazing. This game, like, it looks really good. I can't not talk about the soundtrack to Tekken Tag Tournament, okay? It's got one of the funkiest soundtracks in the entire series, okay? There's some absolute bangers on here. You got Jin's theme here, which is just an absolute bop, okay? I love Jin's theme. You got Xiao Yu's theme, which is probably my favorite in the game, okay? It's just super funky. And you've also got the school theme, which I love. So yeah, there's some really good songs here. And if we're going to talk about Tekken Tag Tournament, lads, I can't not talk about Tekken Bowling, okay? Probably my favorite minigame in all of the Tekken games. I probably spent as much time playing Tekken Bowling as I did the actual fighting game. And I've 100% completed this game, okay? I've unlocked all the different character endings for all the different characters. So yeah, I played this game a lot when it came to the fighting, but I was just addicted to that bowling for some reason. And in terms of weaknesses with Tekken Tag Tournament, lads, there's only really two things I can really think of. One is the character endings. The character endings are just really mid, to be honest. Like, they're just really I'm glad they do exist because it sort of just gave me something to collect in this game, you know, it gave me a purpose to actually play it, so I'm glad they're there, but they're just really not that great. My second flaw with this game is like the final stage. You have to fight a character called Unknown, who's, I mean, it's pretty much Junkazama, but it's not really canon, but yeah, it's pretty much Junkazama. Design-wise, Unknown is super cool looking in this game, okay? She's got that, like, freaky, weird vibe to her, so yeah, no faults with her design at all, but the actual boss itself is honestly probably one of the easiest bosses in the whole of, like, the Tekken series. For one, she doesn't actually have a partner, so she doesn't, like, tag anyone in, so there's that, so, you know, her health bar is just definitely a lot lower than if there were two of her, and weirdly enough, I just found her, like, pretty easy to beat, you know, like, and that's weird for me to say, because I'm not very good at these Tekken games, okay, and some of these final stages I struggled with, but I absolutely wiped my ass with Unknown pretty much every time. Definitely one of the easiest final stages in all of the Tekken games, okay, which, I don't know, it's not, like, a big deal, but I just thought it was worth mentioning, you know, I wish it was just a little harder. So yeah, all in all, lads, I absolutely adore Tekken Tag Tournament, okay, it's pretty much just Tekken 3, but with tagging, and then with a couple of extra things in it. It's a great game, okay, I definitely recommend it. Okay, lads, next up, we've got a massively divisive one here, okay, we have got Tekken 4. Okay then, boys, my opinion on Tekken 4 might be a bit unpopular here, okay, but I have to say, I think Tekken 4 is my favourite in the whole series. And that's going to sound really crazy to a lot of people, okay, because this is actually a lot of people's least favourite Tekken game, but I do have my reasons for liking this game the most, okay, so I'm going to get into that, okay. I want to start off by saying, like, I'm very nostalgic for this game. I used to have this demo disc that had this game on it. It had this, I had Futurama the game, and it had Starsky and Hutch. I used to play that demo disc all the time. So there's definitely, like, a lot of nostalgia here, okay, that plays a big part in why I love Tekken 4 so much, but it's definitely not just nostalgia, okay, because I played this game all the time, and I still absolutely love it. So honestly, that's the biggest reason I think this is my favorite Tekken game, isn't actually to do with the gameplay, okay, it's actually to do with the atmosphere of this game, okay. The atmosphere to Tekken 4 is unlike any other Tekken game. It's just a very dark and atmospheric game, okay. I don't know how to quite describe the atmosphere, okay, but if you've played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's just a real vibe to Tekken 4 that I absolutely adore, okay, that none of the other Tekken games for some reason replicate, and I love it. A lot of that vibe comes from the soundtrack here, lads. The soundtrack to Tekken 4 is just absolutely 10 out of 10. It's probably one of my favorite gaming soundtracks ever. Definitely my favorite Tekken soundtrack, okay? There's so many good songs, it's not even funny. You've got probably my favorite Tekken song of all time, Authentic Sky. Just, I mean, if you've heard Authentic Sky, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But then you've got the jungle theme, which slaps, okay? You've got the beach theme that slaps. You've got the airport theme that slaps.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Even just selecting a character in this game just has an atmosphere to it, you know?
Welcome to the King of Iron Fist Tournament 4.
The story is also a lot darker than the other Tekken games. It's a lot more serious. You do still have some of those goofier endings, don't get me wrong, you know, this game isn't serious all the time, which I wouldn't want it to be, you know. I like a bit of goofiness in my Tekken games, but I also love that seriousness as well. And also one of the reasons this is my favorite Tekken, lads, is like the different stages you have here. There's just such a nice variety of stages, and they're just very dynamic and amazing to look at. Like, you've got that airport stage, okay, which is just amazing to look at. You've got the beach one, like I said before. There's one where you're like in a fight club and there's like loads of people in the background. That's awesome. And then you've got like a street stage where it's pretty much like a street brawl. That's awesome. And there are just so many awesome stages in this game, okay? They're super memorable to me. And when it comes to the gameplay with this one, lads, this is where a lot of people don't like Tekken 4, but for me, it was never a problem for me in terms of gameplay. I don't mind it whatsoever. It's definitely slower than a lot of the other Tekkens, especially like Tekken 3, but again, it just wasn't something that really bothered me so much. I suppose I'm not like at that level when it comes to Tekken games where I'm fighting on competitive level, you know. I'm just fighting against the CPU, so I'm not too bothered about that slower gameplay. So yeah, all in all, lads, I absolutely adore Tekken 4, okay? I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, okay? It's definitely not everyone's favorite, but it's definitely my favorite, okay? I just love everything about this game, okay? And yeah, if you've never played Tekken 4, out of all the Tekken games, this is the one that I recommend the most. Okay then, boys, next up, we're going to be talking about Tekken 5. So if someone was going to ask me what was like a perfect Tekken game with just about everything you could ask for in a Tekken game, my answer, honestly, lads, would be Tekken 5, okay? Tekken 5, I mean, it's pretty much perfect, okay? It has everything. Whilst Tekken 4 is definitely my favourite, you know, for personal reasons, like, I can understand why people adore Tekken 5, okay? Because, I mean, again, it is pretty much perfect. And the gameplay here is a lot smoother and faster than Tekken 4, okay? That's definitely something that they added with Tekken 5, is the speed of this game is just a lot higher. There's definitely a lot more combos you can pull off in Tekken 5, 5 and Tekken 4. Like, the combos in Tekken 4 were a lot shorter, whereas in Tekken 5, they just let you go crazy with those combos if you're actually good at these games. I'm not particularly good at them, so I wasn't really pulling off any crazy combos, but again, if you actually get good at these games, the combos you can do in Tekken 5 are just crazy. In the visual department, this game is stunning, okay? I mean, it looks pretty much as good as Tekken 4, but Tekken 4 looks incredible, so that's not a problem. And the story arcade mode here, lads, is so good, okay? They put so much effort into, like, the story mode here. It was clear that in Tekken 4, they were putting a lot more effort into those story modes, but with Tekken 5, they just add it to that next level, okay? Because, like, what they will do is, like, halfway through the arcade mode, you actually end up getting, like, story moments, which is just super cool that they went to that effort, okay? Because I absolutely adore, like, the Tekken lore and stuff. It's just, like, it's one of my favorite parts of the Tekken series. So with Tekken 5, lads, I played through the arcade mode with absolutely every character, okay? I felt like it was worth it with the different character stuff you were getting. Also, lads, we're going to be talking about Tekken 5. I can't not talk about Jinpachi, okay? Jinpachi is obviously Heihachi's dad, and he's the final stage of Tekken 5, and that motherfucker is hard, okay? That guy kicks your ass. He's pretty much the perfect final boss. He's definitely one of the harder fights of the Tekken series, okay? Like, he's not an easy fight by any means. I do think there's some that are a lot harder than him, and I'll talk about them later, but I thought he was like a perfect final boss. He definitely has a couple of moments where you want to break your controller when fighting him, like when he just decides to shoot fireballs out of his penis for some reason. That, like, takes half of your health, which is not fun.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more.
Also, we were talking about, like, some of the intros from the other Tekken games, you know, like with Tekken 2 and stuff. Tekken 5's intro is so good, okay? It's like 4 minutes long. The visuals are great. The songs are great. Like, there's actually 2 songs in the intro. The second song as well is so good. The intro to Tekken 5 is definitely up there. And if all of that wasn't enough for you guys, you've also got, like, an extra mode here called the Devil Within mode, and it's basically a whole ass new game in Tekken 5. I won't lie and say to you guys that it's, like, the most amazing game mode. It's pretty much just a Bob standard beat 'em up, and the different environments are kind of meh. But yeah, just the fact that it's even in here is just pretty cool. So if you get, like, bored of playing, like, the different arcade mode, you can go play Devil Within mode, and yeah, it's like a couple of hours to beat it, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, all in all, lads, I just think Tekken 5 is pretty much perfect. The only, like, negative I have with this game is that you can't play as Jinpachi in this game. That was, like, my only, like, criticism. I just feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity, you know, because Jinpachi is just such a cool final boss, so for me not to be able to, like, actually play as him myself was a little bit disappointing. But other than that, lads, Tekken 5 is pretty much perfect, okay? It might not be my favorite in the series, you know, because I do have some nostalgia and stuff for Tekken 4, and I love that atmosphere. But yeah, this game, I genuinely hardly can think of anything bad about it. Right then, boys, next up we have got one on the PSP here, okay, and that is going to be Tekken Dark Resurrection. So Tekken Dark Resurrection is a very, very weird one, lads, because if you want to get this game physically, you pretty much can only get it on the PSP. I think it was on the PS3, but it was only digital only, at least in the UK. And Tekken Dark Resurrection, from what I can tell, is pretty much just Tekken 5 with a couple of additions. It's pretty much the same roster as you have in Tekken 5 with a couple of new additions here. You've got Lily, Armor King, and I can't remember, there's one other character as well you can play as in this game. I think they also maybe added a couple of new stages here as well, but yeah, it's pretty much just Tekken 5, lads, okay? So the gameplay here is great, okay? This plays super good on PSP, which is awesome. It runs super well for a PSP game, as far as I could tell. I'm pretty sure it's 60 frames per second. Looks really good as well for a PSP game, and yeah, it's pretty much Tekken 5, you know, and Tekken 5 obviously is great, so what can you not love about Dark Resurrection? Okay, next up we got like a bit of a unique Tekken game, okay, and that's gonna be Tekken for the Game Boy Advance. So here's the thing with Tekken on the Game Boy, lads, okay? This is not a game I even knew existed until, like, the other week, okay? I had no idea this was even a thing. So when I was doing a bit of research on the different Tekken games and I discovered that this existed, I knew I had to have it, okay? I mean, it's Tekken on the freaking Game Boy, you know? I wanted to see what that was all about. And to my absolute shock, this game is actually really good. This game should not be as good as it is for the Game Boy, okay? Because, I mean, it's the Game Boy Advance, you know? It's a simple console. There's not a lot you can really do with the Game Boy Advance. But this game honestly plays really well for a Game Boy game, okay? Like, it plays surprisingly well.
I love you, bitch.
So first of all, this game has sidestepping, so you can actually do sidesteps on a Game Boy Advance on a Tekken game, so, I mean, that's just mind-blowing. Graphically, this game looks really good for a Game Boy Advance game, okay? This is probably one of the better-looking Game Boy Advance games you can actually get. Also, to my absolute shock here, lads, there's a lot of, like, different game modes for this. I honestly just expected it to be, like, a versus mode and maybe arcade mode, but there's more than that. Like, you've obviously got the arcade mode, but then you've also got, like, time attack, you've got a survival mode, and then you've also got, like, a tag battle mode. So they basically did their own version version of Tekken Tag Tournament, but on a Game Boy Advance. And with this as well, you actually have 3 tag partners instead of 2. And even in terms of the gameplay, I thought this game played really well for a Game Boy Advance game. Obviously, it doesn't play as well as, I don't know, Tekken 7, for example, like, but, you know, you're not going to expect that with Tekken on the Game Boy. But you actually have a decent amount of combos you can do with this one, you know? You've only got a couple of buttons on a Game Boy Advance, but they make good use out of them. So yeah, I really enjoyed Tekken on the Game Boy, okay? So if you do have a Game Boy, you should check this out, because it is shockingly good. So yeah, boys, if you thought Tekken on the Game Boy was weird, you're not ready for this next one, okay? This is probably the weirdest game in the entire Tekken franchise, okay? And that is going to be Death by Degrees on the PS2. So I know there's someone out there watching this video right now that has no idea what the hell this game is, okay? So let me explain. This is pretty much a beat-em-up game, but you play as Nina Williams from the Tekken series. This is not like your traditional Tekken fighting game that we're used to, okay? This is completely different. So I knew I wanted to check this one out, lads, because it's just such a unique game in the series, you know? I just knew that I wanted to explore what this game had to offer. Overall, this game it's okay. I won't sit here and tell you that it's the best game ever made. I wish I could, but it's definitely far from perfect, you know? It's unique as hell, and I do respect the fuck out of it for being unique, but it isn't amazing. There's definitely some flaws with it. So to start things off then, lads, the controls of this game are just really weird. You pretty much attack with the right stick. In order to attack people in this game, you have to flick the right stick in the direction that you're fighting. So like if someone's right in front of you, then you flick the right stick forward, and Nina will do some kicks, you know, some forward kicks. If you want to dodge in this game, you have to flick the left stick, which is really weird to use. So like, you know, because obviously you're still walking around with the left stick. So in order to flick, it controls really jankily and weird. It's definitely one of the weirdest aspects of this game is how it controls. I honestly just would have preferred to just use the buttons, to be honest. It just feels weird that we don't use buttons in this game. Also with this game, like a lot of what you'll be doing is like exploration, and if I was to summarize this game, it kind of plays like a beat 'em up version of Resident Evil, which again is just like super weird like to even think about, because you can't really say that about a lot of games, you know, a beat 'em up version of Resident Evil. Well, that's pretty much what it is.
We're the same, you and me. Actually, no, we're not. Yeah, we are.
You'll be exploring these different levels, and you're looking for different ways to open certain doors that are locked and stuff, and yeah, it just kind of plays a bit like Resident Evil. One of the things, though, that I really did like about this game is, like, the different weapons you get in this game, which I did not expect, okay? You get, like, different, like, weapons you can use, so, like, you could have, like, double swords, for example, and you can slash people up, or you can even get guns in this game, which, again, is just, like, that's pretty damn awesome. And this game does also feature a lot of different boss battles, and they're all, like, super varied, which is pretty cool. My problem with the boss battles, though, kind of stems back to what I was saying about the controls. The controls are just like super janky and weird, so fighting some of these bosses can be kind of frustrating at times. I think it's the second boss fight in this game that really got on my tits, because I'm trying to like dodge the bullets, and it's just like, really hard to do with the left stick. So yeah, in terms of my like overall experience with this one, it's okay, it's not like the best game ever. I got roughly about a third of the way through it, and I will try and beat this game at some point. I'm not sure when I'm going to come back to it, but yeah, I just felt like I'd played enough, you know. It's alright, but it is quite a long game, and again, it's not like the best game ever, so I'm not like desperate to play it right now. It's definitely unique, okay, and props to it for being unique. It's got a cool vibe to it. Even the story is actually pretty wacky and all over the place, and just the fact that a beat-em-up game starring Nina Williams is even a thing, like, I think that's just pretty damn awesome. So yeah, it's definitely unique, but not the best at the same time. Okay, then let's speaking of unique, okay, this game definitely fits that bill, okay? Street Fighter Cross Tekken. So here's the thing with this game, lads. I've got to be honest, this is probably one of my least favorite Tekken games, okay? And the reason for that is it's not really even a Tekken game. It's pretty much a Street Fighter game, which for those of you that really like Street Fighter games, that's obviously not going to be a big deal, okay? Because if you like Street Fighter, then you'll enjoy this game. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of how Street Fighter plays. I just find it weird to control and stuff, so I wasn't a massive fan of this one. I really did try to give it like a good chance, you know. I was trying to like learn the mechanics of the game, and I was watching all the different tutorials on how to get good at the combos and stuff. My brain just could not click with it for some reason, you know? Like, my brain was just thinking, I want to play Tekken the whole time I was playing it, you know? And obviously, this isn't really a Tekken, so it just, I don't know, it kind of frustrated me whilst I was playing it. Apparently, when they were making this game, the plans were they were going to do another version, but with, obviously, like, in the form of Tekken, but with Street Fighter characters. That was the plan, but unfortunately, I don't think this game, like, sold super well, so they didn't do it in the end. If that did happen, then I feel like I would have loved that game, but yeah, this is pretty much just a Street Fighter game, and again, I'm just not a massive fan of Street Fighter, but yeah, if you like Street Fighter, then you definitely will enjoy this one. Okay then, lads, next up we've got one of the mainline games in the series, okay, and that's going to be Tekken 6. So here's the thing with Tekken 6, lads. Overall, I'm not a huge fan of Tekken 6, okay, and it's actually only a couple of reasons that make me not like this game that much. It's definitely not a bad game, okay, there's a lot going for it, it's great, but it's just these two things that I really have such a big problem with, that it makes the game, like, not fun for me to play. The first thing here being the load times, okay, the load times in Tekken 6 are an absolute joke, okay, at least on the PS3 version. Maybe the 360 version, it's got better load times, but the PS3 one is so bad, the load times. When I was playing through the arcade mode with this, it just took so long to load up each new stage that it just kills any momentum you have with this game, okay, and it just made it, like, really tedious and long to play through arcade mode, or really any game mode for that matter. Like, the load times in this game are disgracefully bad. So that was the first reason I wasn't really a massive fan of Tekken 6. My second reason for not being a massive fan of it is the final boss here, okay, my least favorite boss in the entire Tekken series, and that is Azazel.
I hate you! I hate the air that you breathe! I hate the fact that you're even living!
I absolutely hate this boss, okay? It's terrible in my opinion. And some of you guys might be wondering, maybe if you haven't played Tekken 6, what's so bad about this final boss? Well, basically, Azazel takes up literally the entire screen for some reason. So she's just like, she or he, I don't even know what gender, what even is Azazel? I don't even know. So anyway, he takes up like half of the screen, okay? So it's hard to actually read his offense because he literally just seems to consume the entire screen. He also just seems to be pretty unbalanced, like in terms of like his damage output. Like he can just absolutely destroy you in seconds sometimes. And I just felt like it just wasn't a fun stage to fight at all. You know, you're getting your ass kicked by this annoying final boss and then you have to sit through another loading screen. It's like, it just sort of kills my fun for this game. So honestly, it's just a real shame because like this game looks amazing. It's got some incredibly different stages which are super dynamic. The roster here is absolutely massive, okay? There's tons of different characters you can use and a lot of them are like new. Like you've got Lars, Alyssa that are all new. You've also got Bob that's new. Like, it's a really good roster here in Tekken 6, and then you've also got like really smooth gameplay. Like this game plays really fast, which is good. It's just those two things that kind of annoy me with this game and make me not enjoy it, you know? It's not a bad game by any means, but those two things just like, it puts me off from playing the game, you know? Like, I'd rather just go play Tekken 5 than play this one, so definitely not my favorite in the series. Alright then, next up we've got one that I reckon a lot of people don't even know exists, okay? And that's gonna be Tekken 3D on the 3DS. Yeah, this is definitely a weird entry in this series, to say the least, lads. The first thing I feel like I should mention with Tekken 3DS is that you can actually watch a movie on it. This game comes with like an animated movie. There's like an hour and a half just packed into the cartridge, so you can just like watch that on your 3DS, which is just kind of, I mean, it's just really weird, but that's awesome, to be honest. In terms of the gameplay here, lads, it's pretty much just Tekken 6, but just on the 3DS, with a few changes in terms of how it plays. Like, first of all, you don't have to fight Azazel in this game, so as far as I'm concerned, that's already a win. But yeah, the gameplay is pretty much the same as what you have in Tekken 6. Like, the game flows the same, it has the same combos. I think the roster is the same as well. It's pretty much just Tekken 6 on the 3DS with some, like, notable changes. I mean, visually, this game obviously is not as good looking as Tekken 6 is on the PS3. The backgrounds are much more simplified. The 3D effects were pretty cool, though, on some of these stages, so I did turn on 3D, which I don't usually do with my 3DS, but I did, like, on some of the stages because it looked pretty cool. But yeah, this game actually did surprise me quite a bit, lads, because it does actually have a fair bit going for it, okay? It runs super well, for one. This game runs at 60 frames per second, which is great. It looks pretty damn good for a 3DS game. Like, visually, this game does actually look pretty damn good. Like, the different character models are nice. Again, it plays super smoothly. Like, it plays pretty much like exactly how Tekken 6 plays on the PS3, but on 3DS. And also, what I love about this game, lads, is the load times are actually good, okay? So, I've got to be honest, I actually prefer to play this one than I do Tekken 6 on the PS3, because the game actually loads quickly. In terms of the negatives with this one, lads, honestly, there's only one, like, problem I really have with it, and that's just the, like, lack of content, which obviously is a big thing. You know, you want to have a Tekken game and have things to do on it. This game doesn't really have that much to do on it. It's pretty bare bones when it comes to content here. You've got arcade mode, but there's no, like, arcade story endings, so, you know, it's kind of a bit shit in that regard. The main mode they have here, lads, is called Special Survival, and it's basically you have, like, one health bar, and you have to take out as many people as you can, like, in a row. Like, for example, if you select, like, the Special Survival against 40, you have to fight 40 opponents with one health bar, and that sounds really hard, but honestly, it's not that that hard. And they definitely dialed down the difficulty here, so each fight is a lot easier than it would be if you were playing like the arcade mode. Plus, you do actually gain a little bit more health each round. You just don't get like a lot of health. Honestly, lads, I had a fair amount of fun with that mode, okay? It's a pretty cool mode. It's just, for that to be like the main mode here, like that's the main thing you'll be playing here. I mean, I would have liked a bit more, you know? I would have liked a proper arcade mode with actual arcade endings. That would have been better in my opinion. So yeah, all in all, lads, I actually think this is pretty good. It's a pretty good Tekken game for portable use, okay? So yeah, I would definitely recommend it if you do have a 3DS. Okay then, boys, next up we have got Tekken Tag Tournament 2 on the PS3. So here's the thing, lads, with this game, okay? I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I haven't played that much of this game, okay? Out of all these Tekken games I've got here, this is the one I played the least. And the reason for that, lads, is I actually rage quit it, okay? This is the only Tekken game that I have ever rage quit. I'd had enough with this game, okay? I said, you know what? I don't need it. I don't want to play it, and I'm done with it. Out of all the Tekken games I've played, lads, this is probably one of my least favorites, okay? And that is gonna be an incredibly unpopular opinion, I know, because I know there's gonna be some people that absolutely adore this game, and I can understand. It's not a bad game by any means, okay? There's just one problem with it, the final stage. The final stage of this game against Jun Kazama, aka Unknown, is absolute torture for me. I have never been beaten up so bad than I was in this game, okay? Jun Kazama absolutely fucking wrecked me.
It's just, there's just nothing I can do. There's nothing, it just fucks me. It just takes me, bends me over, and just
So yeah, I feel like the best way to talk about this one, lads, is to just talk about my experience with the game, okay? So I'm just playing it through the arcade mode, you know, having a good time, as always. I was having fun with it, you know, the game plays fast and smooth. It plays pretty much like Tekken 6, but with, you know, with the tag element, so I was having a good time. And I get up to that final stage, okay, and I come up against Jun Kazama, and I'm like, okay, well, I've already beaten the fuck out of her on Tekken Tag Tournament 1, so this shouldn't be a problem. Like I was saying before, lads, in Tekken Tag Tournament 1, I actually think that final boss is probably one of the easiest bosses in the series. This is the opposite, okay? I think this is the hardest. This actually makes me kind of appreciate Azazel a little bit. Like, I thought Jinpachi was a hard final boss until I played this one, okay? I got absolutely wrecked over and over and over again by Jun Kazama, okay? She was destroying me. And the main reason for that, lads, is this game just has crazy amounts of juggling in it. Like, you can pull off just ridiculous combos where you can just juggle the fuck out your opponents for ages, okay? You can take out like half a health bar on just a crazy juggle if you're good at the game, which I'm not, okay? I'm not good at these games, okay? I suck at them, so this is a big skill issue here. You're probably thinking, Majel, it seems like a skill issue. It absolutely is. The reason I did not enjoy this game is definitely a skill issue, okay? So I actually lost to Jun Kazama 16 times in a row before I finally beat her. That was on medium difficulty, lads, okay? And that is a lot of losses on medium difficulty, and I was using Law and Heihachi, and they're my two go-to characters, and I lost 16 times in a row with my go-to characters. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with this game. I don't want to play it anymore. I just said, you know what? I can't do that with every single character. I will smash my head against a wall if I have to do that every time. And it would have been more. I would have lost more times in a row with other characters that I'm not good with. And yeah, as much as that experience was absolutely terrible for me, lads, I probably would have forgiven it all if this game had Tekken Bowling. And it doesn't.
Okay, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no.
Sorry. So, do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can track him, maybe not my
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do this.
So yeah, I gotta be honest, lads, I didn't have fun with Tekken Tag Tournament 2. I'll probably come back to it at some point and try and see if I can get good at it. But yeah, I said to myself, you know what? I don't need it, okay? I'd rather play Tekken 4, I'd rather play Tekken 5, I'd rather play Tekken 6 than play this. I'd rather play Tekken 1, I'd rather play Tekken Advance. You get my point? I wasn't having fun with it because I was just getting destroyed. Right then, lads, we come to the final Tekken game that we're gonna talk about today, okay? Tekken 7. Okay then, boys, so Tekken 7 is a very unique game in the series, okay, for one reason and one reason only, okay? There's no more story mode in the arcade, okay? All these other games pretty much have, like, story modes at the end of each arcade. You know, you'll beat the arcade, and you'll get, like, story on each character. This game does away with that. And this game has its own, like, full-on-fledged story mode, similar to games like Infamous and the recent Mortal Kombat games, okay? And all in all, I don't mind it. It's you know, it definitely has cool moments, but I prefer the arcade story, you know? I much prefer that way of the storytelling. satisfying. I just always like the way that you can go through some of these older Tekkens, and there's just such a variety in the different stories, you know, like you can play as Heihachi and get a pretty serious ending, and then you can play as Panda and get a completely ridiculous ending, or Mokujin or something like that, you know, like there's a nice variety in silliness and also like seriousness. With Tekken 7, it does away from any of that goofiness, okay, it's all serious now. And yeah, I just honestly found that a little bit disappointing, to be honest with you, you know, because I kind of miss that goofiness. But in terms of the actual story here, I mean, it's fucking nuts, okay, I'm not gonna lie, like the story here is absolutely batshit crazy. I mean, there's a part in this game where Heihachi is kicking rockets at people, so there's that. And the irony of me telling you this game is serious and then telling you that Heihachi's kicking rockets, I mean, it's a little bit contradictory. But anyway, the story here is kind of crazy, and it does go lots of different places. There's one point where you actually fight, I can't remember his name now. Is it Akuma from Street Fighter? Like, he's in the story mode, which is just like, what the hell is he even doing here? I'm not even gonna lie, lads, he's not even really out of place in the story mode, because he is completely badass, I won't lie. Like, I'm not a big fan of Street Fighter, but that character is fucking cool. So yeah, the story mode definitely has its moments, okay? There's like parts of the game where you actually go back to previous things that happened in other Tekken games. So like, there's a part of the game where you actually fight Heihachi when you're like young Kazuya, when obviously Kazuya gets chopped off the mountain. Moments like that were pretty plentiful within the story, and they were really cool, so I definitely appreciate moments like that. But honestly, that's, I think, like the biggest weakness with the story mode here is honestly the way in which it's told. It's told through the lenses of this like reporter character who is super boring. Like the way he like delivers his dialogue, it puts you to sleep, honestly.
I remember receiving my first letter from my son a few years back. Scribbled on it were the words, "I love you." I was so happy I cried.
What the fuck was that?
I just wonder why they even did it in the way they did it, you know, like, because this story is actually pretty nuts and crazy, but then you just have this really boring reporter, like, talking about it and narrating it, and, yeah, it was just really jarring that they did that. So, yeah, for me, the story mode here is hit and miss, and honestly, I would have just preferred, like, the arcade story mode, how it was, you know, they still have arcade mode in the game, but there's no character endings, so it's a little bit disappointing. I also think I need to mention, lads, with Tekken 7 is, like, the DLC characters. This, for me, was a big disappointment, and just like fighting games in general nowadays, it's kind of disappointing that there's even DLC characters at all. Like back in the day, if you wanted to unlock characters on these Tekken games, you would just play through the arcade mode, and once you finish it, you'd unlock new characters, which was great. I loved that. But with modern fighting games, you don't have that anymore, okay? If you want like new characters, you have to buy them with money, and that's kind of a shame. And I totally get it with some characters, like you've got Negan and Noctis in this game that aren't Tekken characters, so I can kind of understand why you'd have to pay for characters like that. That makes sense. But for some reason, like a lot of like the mainstay Tekken characters that you come to expect to be in your Tekken game are behind a paywall. So like you've got Anna and Julia that are both behind paywalls, and it's like, I don't know, like I just feel like it's kind of scummy to charge for those characters that have always been in the Tekken series, you know, like just in the base game. So I don't know, I just find DLC characters kind of disappointing. I just wish it wasn't there, you know. I miss the old days. Yeah, the only other thing I want to talk about Tekken 7, lads, is the online mode, okay? This is where I spent most of my time with Tekken 7. Like I said before, I'm not good at Tekken games, okay, so it will be no surprise to you guys that I did get my ass kicked a fair bit on Tekken 7 online, because some people that play this game are fucking good, and I'm not, okay? I played as Law, so I knew a few combos, okay, and I was just spamming those same combos over and over and over again. And give me a little bit of credit here, lads. I didn't lose absolutely every game I played, okay? I was winning some, okay? I probably have like a 50% win record or something like that, so I wasn't completely useless at this game, okay? I was able to win some matches, but yeah, I had fun. I had fun with Tekken Online, okay? I won't lie. As bad as I am at these Tekken games, I definitely had fun with it, okay? And Tekken Online is pretty addictive. So yeah, all in all, lads, I do like Tekken 7, okay? There's some things I like about it, some things I dislike about it. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but I do overall enjoy this one. So yeah, boys, that is absolutely every single Tekken game, unless I've missed some. I don't think I have, but yeah, that's a lot of games right there, and I had an absolute blast playing through all of these, okay? I spent the last few months playing all these games, and I loved them, you know? I love the Tekken series, okay? And I just can't wait for Tekken 8, okay? I cannot wait for it. So yeah, I'd love to know in the comments, boys, what is your favorite Tekken game, okay? That's what I want to know. What's your favorite Tekken game, and why, okay? Why is it your favorite? Other than that, boys and girls, subscribe here if you're new, okay? And I'll see you guys in the next one, alright? Peace.